But I was curious because obviously it's not a song that's super old for you all. I know you have 13 songs coming out, but I saw there you go. It's a good start. No, but was there a reason? What's the reason? I'm just curious of why you're not doing that song anymore live. You guys said you're kind of retiring it for the time being, right? Is it just because you have so many songs at this point with the new record that it's just like, you've got other things to play, or what's the deal?
We are actually going to play. I think we still have to like figure out the rotation, but we are actually going to bring it on tour.
Oh, okay.
This is brand new change as of last week.
I gotcha. So it was a fake out, is what you're telling me. I gotcha.
Well, we were I was convinced that we didn't want to play it anymore because we had all these new songs coming out.
Yeah.
But it's going to someone please interject here. To my understanding, it's going to be rotated out with other old songs.
I think we agreed on a rotation for tour coming up, but
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, I don't mean to interject.
Redux. I mean, listen, this is the first time I'm ever saying this. We kind of rushed that song. It was like, I think originally going to be part of the album, but we were like, nah, let's just put it out now. So we kind of didn't really put that much effort into it, and we just kind of put it out as a single. So
you just get, I mean, I get, because again, like, I know it's just, you're putting out a record, and this record is like, and there's no like filler tracks or anything, which I loved when I saw it was 13 tracks, listened through it several times. No filler tracks, even the instrumentals you have are parts of other things and all that kind of stuff. Like, when you put out that much music, it's just like, it's pretty easy, especially when you're touring, probably doing 30 to 45 minute sets at most. It's kind of hard to include even the songs you want from the latest record, along with the few, Murder Mountain or whatever else you want. I understood it. I just figured I'd ask why that one specifically, when you've got older songs, But yeah, that makes sense. That totally makes sense. Here with Sales Ahead, we've got Sierra, Joe, Jaime, Ryan, and Santino. We're here to talk about the upcoming record that'll be out when this comes out. Infinite Void, coming out April 26th. I have the date right. I forgot to put it in my notes, right? That's correct. Okay, good. So we're going to do a deep dive on the record. I figured we would look at the overall arching, like what you guys want to see people get out of it, the difference between this and like your other releases, the lyrical and music inspirations, all that typical, music interview bullshit. And then also maybe if we have time, go through track by track, because I put notes for each track as I listened through numerous times, kind of get everyone's take on it, the influences, and just kind of what put this record all in all together. To start off, I do have a really dumb question to ask you, and this will be kind of like old news by the time this comes out in a couple of weeks from us recording it. But did all of you experience the infinite void of the eclipse yesterday? How did that go for you guys? Was that a good segue or no?
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was sick.
I'm glad I got to see it.
It was so cool.
I did not get to see it.
No, was it a thing? Was it much of like a spectacle in New Jersey for you all? Was there like the whatever they called it, the totality shenanigans there, or was it more of just like weird sun for a
because there was so many clouds.
Oh yeah, so... I heard in like the northeast area, it wasn't looking too good, right?
Yeah, so not too dark, but you got to see about 75%, or what I think is 75% coverage of it. It was sick. It was awesome.
Well, that's sick. I mean, that's better than where I was at. I mean, I was teaching children at the time that I was not going to be responsible if their retinas got burned. Yep. So I watched the live stream of it on the news. But
that's what I was doing first. Then somebody brought in some glasses to work, and I got to actually see it right on time.
Oh, sick! Yeah,
I was watching that live stream too.
I didn't think of it till the day of because I'm not a planner. But I was like, oh yeah, I should probably have some of those glasses if I want to check it out on my lunch break. No,
yeah, I'm glad the kid brought it in right away.
Yeah.
I got lucky because one of my coworkers brought glasses in.
Yep. And I enjoyed a little bit of the content you guys put up about that, because I didn't even think about it till the day of how much like the album art, which is sick by the way.
Thank you.
Just like totally looked like it was a solar eclipse, right? I don't fucking know. I'm an idiot.
It worked out.
Yeah, it worked out. It worked well for some shenanigans. But I digress from my really dumb talking points here, and we'll get into the record. Obviously, just overarching first and foremost. And I always feel like on this show I tend to like just blow smoke up everybody, but I genuinely mean this when I say that this record, I'd be surprised if it's not my album of the year. You know, there are a lot of like great records coming out this year of bands that I love, but this is, you know, first and foremost, the production of it was absolutely fantastic. The ebb and flow of it was really cool. I really enjoyed how it really felt like a full piece. Sierra, I really appreciate that you sent over a like, you know, because you know how Dropbox is, like
Yeah.
a one file of the whole thing, to where it's so seamless. I had to go back and make sure to do the track by track to make sure I didn't put notes down of the wrong song, because it ebbs and flows with the different, you know, little ad libs, little instrumentals, and all that kind of stuff from each track. I guess to start off here to get us going, and we did this with the Darting Eyes episode as well, but just to clarify, this was at least all produced in-house, right? You guys sent it out to somebody else to mix, but it was all done production-wise with sort of Joe at the spearhead of this. Is that correct?
That's right.
Totally.
And it's your best work. So that just goes to show, you don't need to pay anybody. You just got to spend endless hours painstakingly going over things till you hate your own music by the end of it. Is that fair to say? Or what, how do you feel about that, Joe?
I don't hate it yet. I'm still very proud of it and try to listen to it. I try to listen to it at least like every couple of weeks.
Yeah. I mean, I think I was taken aback at sort of the difference in quality of both like the overall production, the mixing's fantastic, and the overall delivery from everybody from the drums to the bass to the guitars, of just how, like, not that any of your music before was anything other than fantastic, but this really feels like a big upgrade for you all. Do you kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Attribute that to the fact that you did that more in-house? Do you feel like you just spent more time on this release compared to other releases? Just kind of, what do you think separates, and then we'll get into the actual content of it, and whoever wants to go, we can go here. But what do you think kind of separates this release from your previous, EPs, singles, things of that nature?
Well, I'm just gonna say, like, I guess, like, ultimately we are a guitar band, and I was kind of really focused on the guitars. I wanted to get like a really true representation of what we sound like as a band, because sometimes you go into a studio and it's their equipment, so you end up kind of sounding like the studio that you recorded at. But I really wanted this album to sound like us, which meant my Orange Rock Reverb and Santino's Mesa Triple Crown through 412 cabinets mic'd up in a room. And that, as a guitar player, it was really important to me, and something that I really liked about the albums that influenced this album.
So, I think what sets Infinite Void vastly apart from our older material is, like, you can hear our personal growth as musicians on this record. Like, it's like night and day. It's crazy. And I think it helps that, like, these tracks, even though it took us a really long time to finish this album, like, we got to marinate with everything. It wasn't a rush job in that respect to, like, the songwriting. We really took our time with everything and, worked on each song bit by bit, like, finishing it together. And yeah, we all did stuff that, like, a lot of the performances, like, we would go in to track them, and then we had the luxury of being like, can't nail this today. Well, we're not on, like, paid time, so we can go home, work on the part, and come back to it if we have a bad day. But I think that, like, it helps that we had the experience of the past records, recording with other people, writing a bunch of songs, like, figuring out who we were, and then over the years, like, growing as instrumentalists and as a vocalist to arrive to where we got to on Infinite Void. Yeah, so I think those are all things that, like, helped, and just, like, life experience too, like, that informed, like, the overall vibe, I believe.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I think one thing that a lot of people can appreciate is that, time is sort of its own currency. And when you're willing to spend more time and you don't have to spend as much money, right? Like, it's still your you're having to take time out of your day to go re-record something with you all, or like, it's still a task, but like you said, you don't have to, as I think we discussed in the previous episode with Darting Eyes, you don't have to like find time to go drive back to a studio necessarily or whatever else. Like, it might take more time overall and more effort on your part when you're doing it in the way that you all did, but then you don't have to worry about booking the space. You just have to worry about the additional time it's taking
Yeah,
to get
exactly.
the best take possible, right?
Right. Like, like the sacrifice of like our time, like Joe's time was definitely made, but like it wasn't like we were working with each other. We weren't like working with like a studio that we were like up front paying thousands of dollars to. So that helped.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Ryan, you got any thoughts just on what sort of separates this from your previous releases and kind of why maybe in your view it is a bit of a leg up for you all?
Yeah, I mean, Sierra touched on it. I take pride in our musicianship. And like Sierra said, this album sort of shows our growth as a band. And one of the reasons I like Periphery so much, they're one of my favorite bands, because they just get better every album. It's something I've noticed that us collectively, we just get better. Like, I don't know, every month, every couple months that we play with each other, we get tighter as a band, and that really just shows in the album. The variety of it too. Like, there's so many different kinds of songs. I think those are the two main reasons I would say it separates itself greatly from the rest of our work. Not that I think that, our songs before Infinite Void are bad or anything. I think they're still solid songs, but I would say, I don't know, 9 of our 10 best songs maybe are on Infinite Void. I think, I don't know, I'm just really proud of it. I think everyone did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, 100% agree. That makes a lot of sense. Santino?
Yeah, you hit it pretty good, Brandon, about saying how we weren't really on a tight time frame, but we didn't really want to take our time too much, so it took as long as it needed, actually. And sure, it was a lot more stress free, I would say, because Joe only lives 10-minute ride up the Parkway from me, so come over after work, do our routine, and just made it very comfortable for us to get the whole thing recorded. It was great. That's a time I'll never forget. It was awesome.
Go.
Yeah, I think I definitely heard Ryan touch on this and stuff too, but yeah, I just like the diversity of like all the songs and stuff is like so like widespread compared to like our previous releases and stuff like that. And also I just feel like we've learned like so much from our previous recording experiences, and we were able to really take advantage of that and like put it into this record, like everything, like all the knowledge and like like music that like we're all like separately into. Like I think we all really work hard on like bringing that together, and we work together like a lot, like talking about like the arrangement of like a lot of the songs and stuff like that. So we really left like no stone left unturned kind of for the record, I feel.
Yeah, I would agree with that again, just as someone that's listened through this repeatedly over the past several days and the past week, that one thing that really sort of got me from the get-go from this record, and I guess we'll kind of go a little bit track by track and just kind of overall here, is it felt very like cinematic in nature, especially with the start of the song. And like I said, the transitions between songs are a big thing for me. I realized doing these episodes, the last several that I've done, it's like there's something about in the age of streaming when a record you can listen through straight across is still so cohesive, the way that like when people would buy CDs all in all, or buy vinyl or cassettes or whatever, and it was really like a whole experience. Like that's big for me, as opposed to 13 great individual tracks, right? Like, and of course you can do that after the fact with some transitions and all that kind of stuff that's part of production, but I think like one thing that sets this thing really over the top of some other independent bands or bands of your guys' level that are touring but not necessarily signed to a record label and all these kinds of things, working full-time jobs and all the good stuff, is just how cohesive it is. Because the very beginning of like Every Day the Sky Falls, just right before the vocals come in, and as everything kind of comes in very like somberly and picks up a little bit, it really just like I was sitting there listening through it probably like for the 10th time today before we did this recording, and it felt like I was like, if I sat here and like found the right movie, I feel like this would be like a good soundtrack, you know.
We gotta keep that going. Find the right movie for it.
Yeah,
I
like
love
people
that.
did with Pink Floyd and
Wizard
and
of
Wizard
Oz.
of Oz or
I love
something.
that.
Yeah, but it you know what I mean, because like it is, you know, music is an experience in the same way that like cinema is, and you guys just fucking knocked it out of the park with that right from the get go. So I guess since I'm talking about these tidbits before I get to the main parts of the songs, how much was there a focus of these little, you know, introductions into the music? You know, I'm gonna look at my notes here to make sure I don't get the song wrong here, but you know, there's one of the songs that you kind of end it, and there's a little bit of, you know, Sierra doing some vocalizations and just, you know, almost sounding like you and someone's playing an acoustic guitar or something like in a back room. For is it the end of Lemon Grab?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the end of Lemon Grab.
I have like 1,000 notes. I was hoping I had that put down here. You know, little things like that, or like the ad lib between Sierra and Joe right before a song kicks in, or all these kind of little soundscapey things you guys throw in. How much of that was after the fact of kind of getting the songs together in the right order, and how much thought was put into that, or was it just kind of like things you were able to throw together that sounded really great? I guess that would go to Joe, since you kind of spearheaded the production, right? How much thought was put into those little transitions?
That's actually, believe it or not, more of a Sierra question. Sierra did a lot of the production type of stuff for that, because I think probably maybe like the moment that we were like, this album is going on vinyl, maybe it was like clear that we all understood that it was like a full production album, like full length. At least that's my idea. But yeah, Sierra definitely did had a lot of ideas for those song transitions.
I didn't mean to steal your valor there, Sierra, so you go ahead and talk.
No, it's okay. Well, I figured we would leave with Joe, because Joe also like had a hand in how like helping me with certain things. I guess like, I not gonna lie, I took it upon myself to sequence the tracks, and then on top of that, I had a vision for like how things should like kick off or transition. And Every Day the Sky Falls, like that intro was always like, I knew I wanted it to sound like that, and then everything else, like the Peach Tea intro was Joe's idea.
I like that one a lot.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Yeah.
Yeah, we came up with that on the spot, kind of like, because we like Joe knew they wanted to do something like spoken word, but we were like and then like I happened to say something spontaneously about like overthinking something, and they were like, that's it, and there you go. So
True.
What If I Fall? I thought like, you know, going into like the second act of the record, like it would be good to have just something there to like make things sound more threatening, like shit's going down. And then to tie everything together, I thought like it would be really cool to have the sound of a black hole like leading into the last song, because like the beginning of the album is like, it's a seemingly beautiful day, and like nothing like is technically inherently wrong, but there's something wrong. And then you get to the end of the record, the vacuous void has come to swallow you whole, and it's like the finale. So this was my first time doing anything like this, and my bandmates were a huge like instrumental part of like helping me figure everything out and like feedback. So I feel like with the limited resource and budget we didn't do too bad of a job. A lot of Googling samples. A lot of Googling.
I was gonna say, yeah, you gotta. That's the sort of like catch. I don't know if I'm using this phrase right, but the catch-22 of it is like there's such a plethora of things you can find for a budget, but again, it goes back to what I just said earlier, where it's like you put the time in to find the one of like the thousands of like the sort of public. Not public domain, but sort of like free to grab or like, you know, limited price things.
Yeah.
That,
also, special thanks also to Matt Burridge from Pulses, because he helped me get shit off of Splice.
Yeah. I was wondering if you use Splice for that, because Splice is like
the darting eyes, the darting eyes alarm, and the darting eyes alarm, the emergency alert, whatever. That was originally going to be attached to the end of Rin, but what we realized was, for ISRCs to be like blanket use for like the same song, the original sound recording can barely change. You can, and it especially can't be longer or shorter, etc. So it was originally gonna go on the end of Rin, and then like Darting Eyes would just like the album version would just kick off, and it would just be. But we did not know. I had no fucking idea what I was doing. So I was like, all right, let's play it safe. And then it was thrown on the beginning and stayed there.
And it still just works absolutely fantastic, both on its own and in the context of the record. So that's great.
Thank you.
So that's really cool. I figured, first and foremost, just for all of you in general, I know we talked a little bit with the Darting Eyes one that was more of a, if I remember right, I should have re-listened to the episode because my memory is awful. But Darting Eyes was one that you all talked about that was more of like a Joe centered baby as far as the songwriting goes, right? That was the one that we discussed that was kind of that way, right? But in general, and I guess we'll start with Santino here with this, and then just kind of ask you all your perspective. What was the songwriting process for this? Were there generally a lot of songs that you guys worked on collectively together? Where was it, I come with 3, you come with 3, and then together we have,
it was
a collaborative
very,
effort?
very, very blended over the couple of years, because I'll never forget the day that Joe brought the riff to Darting Eyes. I'll never forget that. Like, we were in the studio a long time ago at this point. And yeah, there was a lot of songs that Sierra had tabbed out that she sent over, and Joe had things fully written that, okay, we're good to go on this one. There's songs that I had written already that were like, okay, what can you guys add to this? And there's a lot of different ways to go about writing these songs. Yeah.
So all in all, just like, you just kind of come whatever may as far as the songwriting process goes, right? You guys don't have like a singular person that kind of comes to the table with things. It's just whoever has a good idea, let's let it roll and let it rip, right? That's how
if you got it,
went for this record. Yeah, well, that's the way to go, right? So I guess going through here, was there specific influences that you went to for this record as far as bands go? I know, like, I've seen, at least from your socials, things like Lower Definition, from everything from Lower Definition to Blink 182 to Sevenfold gets brought up, right? So I guess, like, from all of you, and I guess I'll start with Sierra here, and then just kind of go down the line here. What were some of the influences, whether it came to the vocal melodies, the instrumentation, just in general, what you were listening to when you were putting this record together? What were some bands that really had a big impact on this record? And I'll have each one of you kind of give your spiel if you're open to it.
Yeah, for sure. So overall, like, I borrowed from my pop background for like pop singer-songwriter for a lot of my melodies, but like in the back of my mind, I'm also thinking like Circa Survive, Anthony Green. But I basically just like the ethos of like my like delivery is very post-hardcore, but like the way I write is like I'm thinking about like my like pop rock upbringing. And I'm just basically I'm focused on making melodies as memorable as possible. Specifically for Every Day the Sky Falls, I was very much thinking about the track Unravel by TK from Linktr.ee, and famously that song is known as the anime opening for Tokyo Ghoul. I was thinking about that song very much for that track, so that is definitely like the vibe. Swear words, Lower Definition. And then Is This Really It? When we were working on that one, honestly, I was just like, what does like a really beautiful finale-esque Sails Ahead song sound like? And I really thought about Lower Definition like a little bit as we were approaching that song, but also just like like what makes With Sails Ahead.
Yeah, that's cool that you can kind of just view that in its own space too, right? Because like that song does, and it's cool that that the finale of the album is, I think, the shortest track on the record. I think it chimes in just like under 3 minutes. Maybe you didn't know that, but I thought that was cool but it still feels like such, and I mean this in a good way, in like a dramatic fashion, just like I was talking about with like kind of the somatic feel of it. And that you can just kind of feel like what would make sense for my band, and just kind of leave it at that, and you don't need to think of all these big influences that you necessarily have on it. So that makes a lot of sense. Joe, what were some influences for you as far as the instrumentation, guitar, production, all that good stuff when it comes to the record?
So I actually to answer that question, I also want to add a little more to the question you asked Santino previously. It's that you could do a track by track for not only the influences on every individual song, but like the way every song was written was completely different, and so like it's different. I'll give very general influences, but every song, it's like whatever I was listening to back in 2018. So it was like a lot of the Mars Volta, Closure, Moscow, First Temple, a lot of Trico, their first 3 albums at the time, and then like Protest the Hero is like an all-timer, and Chaboy Anthony, who filled in for us on the previous tour, he pointed out that some of the songs on the album sounded a bit Protest the Hero influence, which I was honored, and honestly, just like I didn't expect to hear that. But I'm really grateful to have that come out, because that's one of the all-time greats for me. So yeah,
I think if you're a guitar nerd, they almost have to be. Like, I don't think there's any way around the fact that Protest the Hero has to have like a big, I think Ryan brought up Periphery earlier, that's a big influence for you. I guarantee you talk to Periphery, like Misha Mansour influence. Like, if Protest the Hero isn't on there, I would be astounded. You know what I mean?
And
like,
Periphery's on there for sure too.
Yeah. 100%. Awesome. Santino, do you have any influences or anything you really kind of view that like influenced the record?
No, you pretty much hit it again. You know, all the things I listened to, Blink, Avenged Sevenfold, Seosin a lot. So I took little tidbits of what I love about their guitar playing and tried to twist it, make it my own. But you can easily hear it still. Like
there was I was sorry, I didn't mean to cut, but is it Ryan or Rin for the how do you pronounce that?
It's Rin, but it's
Rin,
Ryan.
okay.
It's Ryan, but it's just with the A.
This is a short name for Ryan. It really is Ryan.
It really is Ryan.
Is it really? That's awesome.
It's Rin, because we call him Rin.
The solo at the end of that, and I thought of this when I think like there was something going on Twitter or something about like a favorite Avenged Sevenfold songs, and I saw that, and right after listening to the record, and the solo at the end of Rin, like reminded me of like almost like Waking the Fallen, or like
absolutely.
Like those ending solos, Second Heartbeat, all that kind of stuff, just like those sweeping, insane things that like reminded me I can't play guitar well, like but like it, like that very like intricate technical playing that also has feel to it. Like it reminded me so much of that.
I didn't want to make it seem like it was a little guitar exercise or anything too flashy, make it musical and stuff. So I had actually written that the night before recording it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to stay up all night and try to make sure every note is perfectly right.
Yeah, you fucking nailed it, and I can see the A7X. I can see the A7X influences there, big time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Ryan, obviously you referenced Periphery, and I would say like that's like, especially for a drummer, I don't know that there's a better influence to have on like a heavier intricate record. But any other influences other than Periphery you can kind of allude to for your drumming and everything like that on the record?
Yeah, Matt Halpern is such a beast. But I actually, it's funny to what you guys talked about, the solo, how it sounded like Avenged Sevenfold. For, I would say, 7 or 8 songs on the album, where I didn't really have any, hand in the writing process. I sort of just, wrote what I thought best fit the song. It wasn't a direct influence like the solo at the end of Rin. I was like, I knew, because I know Santino, I'm like, I know this is like, it's Avenged Sevenfold sounding, so I was like, I kind of thought like, what would the Rev kind of do here to try to make like this part bigger? And I sort of made it like Avenged Sevenfold-ish, even though that's not really what we do. It sounded cool. It sounded cool for like the song. And then you got songs like Picture Perfect Pixels, I think that's what it's called on the record. I get like demo names and what the song's actually on the record. Like the last song, I have no idea what that song's called. I always forget the title because I think of it as
that is such a drummer thing. That is such a drummer thing to do. Yeah.
We called it by the demo name. still up until like last year. So like we started playing it. We've been playing it live for 2 years, and we were just like unnamed, but we call it Wet Sock.
Like, yeah, I just think of it as wet sock. I don't really think of it like wet sock. Even just using that as an example.
Every other band like this, or are we the only ones like this? It's got to be everybody else. We can't be the only
no,
ones.
you have no. Like, so I'll probably cut this, but I was in a touring, pop punk emo band for a couple of years when I was in college, and we had this super serious song that everybody liked that like needed a serious title when we put it out, but for whatever reason, the title, the working title was Butt Fuck. Right, I don't know why. Very Blink-182.
Yes,
and but like very serious song, right? And then we would be playing it live after it came out, and our singer one time like called it that, like in the microphone, and it's like, no, dude, that's not what it is. But it's so true. Like you play demos, you see the demo name. I think I talked to Joe about this on social media the other day, where it's like the band that I'm in, it's like it'll be like a long title of like a a quote from some stupid fucking movie, and next thing you know, you have to like remember the real title. Yeah, no, you are not alone on that, my friend.
Awesome. That's funny as hell.
But yeah, I'm definitely gonna cut that out. But the one thing that I wanted to point out both, and I was gonna get to you, Jaime, as well. So I wanted to kind of point this out, and I'm going all over the place here, but it's whatever. But the song "What If I Fall," track 9. Specifically for the bass and drums for the start of the song, as well as the drumming in general on that one, I thought was like a huge highlight on the record. I thought, first of all, the bass tone, which I know that probably goes to Jaime as much as it does Joe with maybe with the production. I don't want to take anything away from Jaime on that one, but like the feel of that one, and then there was one other. There was one other song specifically. I'm trying to remember, but like both of them were like the drums and the bass were so prominent and so distinctive that it was really, really cool to just hear that was like sort of the highlight of the song in a lot of ways as far as the instrumentation goes, was the bass and the drums. But specifically What If I Fall, I thought, like, Ryan, whether that was you or you all collectively when it comes to the production side and the recording side of things, I thought the drumming on that one was like outrageously cool with the instrumentation and the transitions and all that. I thought it was both intricate and also like punchy, where you just kind of feel it like emotionally. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. It's definitely the most technical drum song I've written for What Sells Ahead. It's like not even close. So that makes sense. But we started writing that song with the drums that I brought to everybody, and then we kind of wrote that song collectively. So that's pretty cool that it came out sounding that way.
Yeah, it definitely comes off as like the drums are what are sort of leading this in a way. Well, of course, everything else is fantastic with it, but I just thought it was kind of like a highlight on your end for the drums as well. Jaime, what about you when it comes to influences with your playing, with just the record in general? What can you kind of say, influence you with this record?
Yeah, I mean, as far as like general influences go for the record, for me, I mean, there's always Carnival, like they're always like my number one favorite band. So like I'm always thinking about them. As far as like anytime I'm playing fretless, I'm thinking of like the Mars Volta. That's like some of my like favorite fretless playing, especially when it's like brought into like sort of like a more like rock kind of like thing, and then also like early Covet as well for like a more like melodic approach for like some of like the cleaner stuff. Like I kind of like, but as far as like tracking goes, I wasn't really trying to think too much like in depth as far as like, oh, I want this to sound like this, or like I want this to sound like a certain player or whatever. Like the songs were pretty like fleshed out when it came time to like track the record, and so I just wanted to just like do what I felt was like the best thing for the bass to be doing like on every song.
Yeah, and again, just like what I was talking about with the drums, there's a few songs on here that I unfortunately put down so many notes. I'm losing some of my notes as I scroll through them. But there was a few songs that like really both the bass, your bass playing and the bass tone itself within the music really shine and put some of the songs over the top, where of course like Joe said, this band comes off when you listen to it, and both when I've talked to you all before, it is a, like you said, guitar band, right? Like there's very intricate guitar playing. I can tell you are very meticulous with the tones that you put on, both for distorted tones and clean tones and all that kind of stuff. But the bass really puts some of these songs, especially I feel like on the second half of the record, over the top on just like, it allows the space for some of these lead guitar parts and the riffs and the catchy poppy vocals that Sierra was sort of talking about. It really gives those kind of space to have the kind of atmospheric elements.
I wonder, are you thinking of Oblivion? Because Oblivion has that syncopated bass and drum while the guitar chords are strung out.
I see that in the dumb notes that I put on here. Yeah. That is absolutely true. That, and I put that and then made notes about the whammy pedal usage in there. It's
nice.
One of the things that I threw in there. But yeah, no, that's true. But in general, what I think all in all, what I'm saying here, I guess, is like, what I think a tough thing for a band like yours that's very intricate instrumentally and also has, very like focuses on the melody of the vocals. I think that's a tough balancing act for a lot of bands. And I think even some pretty massive bands give away one for the other in a lot of different, prog, if you want to just do a general space prog music. But you all did such a good balancing act on this record that I think that's what like really pointed out to me, that it just, I don't know. I don't know that I've heard like a, not that you guys are a newer band, but you get what I'm saying with the, the full length record, that it really just kind of speaks to the thoughts on this and the musicianship and the craftsmanship and all that good stuff. But I guess to go from there, thanks for giving like your all little tidbits on the influence there. What I thought would maybe be cool after that is first maybe we'll get into the lyrical themes on this and then kind of just look at the, a few things from the record, and then I won't take too much of your guys' time tonight, but just kind of diving into a few of the songs here. One thing that I have to admit when it comes to the record, and I'm guessing, Sierra, did you write most of the lyrics for the record for the release?
Wrote them all.
Okay. So I do have to admit, and this is really, really, really pathetic of me, but when Honey came out, I absolutely loved it. Thought the chorus was sick. Always love hearing, the collaboration between you all and Pulses and all that kind of stuff. The lyric in the chorus of Honey that says, hang on, let me get to it here. I think it says, I think I shouldn't know better. I swear to God, I have like bad tinnitus or hearing problems. I thought I heard you say something about like shitting the bed in the song. And I was like, there's no way that's right. But I listened to it like 4 times and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's the lyric.
That's fucking hilarious. Bed shitting song, bed shitting track coming out in 2025.
And I was like, it's a phrase, it's a thing, it's a phrase. But I was like, I don't see this band throwing that lyric in there. And then I read the lyrics today when I was going through it again. And I was like, how the fuck did I do that? How did I get that in my head?
Remember how Jared Alonji did Jared Along did the misheard lyric
Yeah, that's
videos?
exactly what I thought of.
I would have been so honored if that was what he also heard, and then that ended up in a compilation.
Yeah, so much. Yeah, I was just like, how the fuck did I hear that? But I'll blame my tinnitus and my car's EQing. But in general, when I was going through the lyrics and listening through this, obviously we talked a little bit with Darting Eyes that there's an influence there from... Can you remind me of exactly what the influence was for Dart? It was in...
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
It was anime.
Yeah,
it was just anime, yeah.
Oh, what was the specific name of the anime that was the influence there?
Fire Force.
That's what I thought. Okay, Fire Force. Yeah, very cool. But I felt like a lot of the record felt very... And I know, you had talked about Swear Words is a love song. It comes off as that way, but it comes off as very... genuine, doesn't come off as cheesy or anything of that nature, right? It's a very genuine song, which is great. But what were the lyrical themes in general? You could speak to a couple of songs specifically if you wanted to, or just overall, what kind of influenced the lyrics of this record?
So the record overall, I tried really hard to like weave a story together so that like everything was cohesive. But the overarching theme behind the record is getting the courage to overcome your anxiety and facing your future head on without doubts and inhibition is something like I really didn't even start to think about like like tackling or even understood that I actually had it till I was like 26. And the last few years of my life have just been like being on that journey of like being able to step outside my brain and like be like, oh, you're thinking, why are you thinking like that? I, poor stress management, like I like my emotions are always like through the roof, stuff like that. So like Every Day the Sky Falls, it like I like wanted that album to open with that song because it's like I wanted the song to sound like how it feels like when tears well up in your eyes and you have like a choke in your breath, and like it opens with like birds and like pretty like outdoor sounds because it's like that, like it's a beautiful day, like nothing is wrong, like what are you doing? So that song, What If I Fall, is where like shit hits the fan, and then like Is This Really It being like the culmination of like coming to terms with everything and like accepting who you are, and living with your like mental illness, with like your whatever like you have that like is kind of like inner turmoil, etc. Like those three are kind of like telling that overarching story. Everything else is generally about like anxiety and depression. Swear words, Rin and swear words are tied together. Let me explain as best as I can. So swear words, that has lyrical references to past Fizz Tales Ahead tracks. If you listen to that track carefully, you can tell which ones. Those songs, when you go back and listen to those songs in our discography, they are all about the same person, and they tell the story of us and like and whatnot. But Rin is also about that same person. So you can listen to those three songs and you can throw in Rin before swear words, and it really like lyrically gains an entire new meaning. So those lyrically are tied together. And yeah, what else? Yeah, a lot of it is about like fighting anxiety and depression. Catastrophes, like I wrote a letter to my anxiety, like I addressed it as a person. And I talk about like something like in the second to last part of the song, like talking about how like you like kind of, as you get older, you become like super self-aware of like how your brain works, and you also become aware of like where it came from. Family. So like putting two and two together and be like, holy shit, that is why I process things that way, that is why I react to things that way, oh my god. And then realizing like seeing it in your loved ones and being like, oh my god. And so that's what that verse is about. Like it's too late to do something about it, the ship has crashed, like they didn't know that their kid was floating and they were too. And I stare at myself in the mirror every day and I said, like, you did the best you could do, like despite everything. I
thought specifically looking through that one when I saw like the 20 years gone by and things about like cables within veins and like interconnectivity to that, I guess correctly. I'm a little proud of myself and my lyric understanding. I'm just kidding. I'm a dumbass. But but like I felt like that with that, and also with what you're talking about. I didn't catch the third one, but I noticed both with your first track, the Every Day the Sky Falls and Is This Really It? I felt like those were connected in a way that both musically, it felt like if you put the record on a loop, it would make sense in a way of it, like, starting out. And then also lyrically, it felt like they were kind of two sides of the same coin. Is that kind of the case?
Yeah, because it's like the first track is like every day sky falls, like every day something is wrong, like what am I doing, what is my purpose? And then Is This Really It is just being like, fuck it.
yeah right.
But also like really I want to be cognizant of time. I could talk about all the lyrics on the record for hours, but
go for it, it's fine.
So Is This Really It? I wrote the lyrics, most of the lyrics, with maybe some fixes in most recent years. Most of them were written in like 2019.
Okay.
And I wrote the song about how if we needed to call it quits with the band, or like if I needed to like accept a future where like it wasn't this band, like what does that feel like, or like what would I say to myself, like what's my headspace, like it was like it's kind of like accepting, but it's also like I was like fully like mourning something that like ended up not even happening, like
Right.
because I was with someone that like I thought like he was basically like, I felt very guilty. I'm giving you the meaty stuff. I felt
That's
really
okay.
guilty that like he was basically waiting and waiting, like he never like made me feel bad about it, but like I felt so guilty. I'm like, oh my god, this person's been like waiting to have like kids. Like we had life goals we talked about together, and like I was holding him back, and I was like, I can't be selfish. Like I have to accept that like one day this is all not like this is all gonna end, but don't have to worry about that anymore. Like
Right.
for a long time, like nothing bad had even like happened with the band, but I was like, oh my god, like this, I can't imagine my life without this thing I love so much. But like in that song, I am like envisioning like putting the dream to rest. Like, oh, there's also a reference to Synapse Fires. Like I can finally sleep. Like Synapse Fires was written about like I was stressed out about some shit we were dealing with the band, and like I just want to sleep again. When like is this really it? Is like, all right, I can sleep now because the dream is dead. But that was the original meaning of the song, and like I honestly leave it up to other people to interpret it how they want now, because it doesn't even, the thing I was scared of happening like isn't even going to happen now.
Right. You know, I think we all, you know, you all probably listen to some of the alternative heavy music that comes out of the scene in general. People will talk about these topics, and yet they will either come out in either very general terms and sort of come off as like, you know, trying to write it to as en masse of people as possible, or there's also things that I've heard that have been so specific that like, you know, you look up the lyrics and you're like, I don't even know what the fuck this is you know, this is talking
No,
about.
I know.
And I think again this does a good line of all of that while still incorporating a song that is kick-ass, that talks about an anime that you're really into, which is cool. That you know, it's a good way to make a record, not that you made this like a concept record, but to have a theme. And that's kind of what I got from this, both musically from everyone and along with the lyrics and the melodies over the top, is I think it was Ryan that referenced how diverse the record is as a whole. You know, you've got some songs that feel very, you know, pop rock with just like a lot better guitar in it, you know, to some very heavy breakdown parts, to some, you know, sludgy bass grooves, to everything in between. And yet it all has this feel to it that which makes sense. It's not a hodgepodge of you guys making all these different genres. It's all these different feelings that are kind of like this tension, push and pull throughout the record, both instrumentally and lyrically, that really, as I said before, you know, you can kind of put it into different acts almost, like where it really does, you know, incorporate everything into the sound that you guys have while still being diverse as hell with the music that you put into it. And I think that goes along even with the lyrics that you're talking about, of all these different sides of these same emotions you can have, that like it's not the same every day and it's not about the same things every day, but there's this sort of overarching feeling that I'm sure a lot of people can relate to, you know.
Thanks. I will say the one song that was really challenging for me lyrically was Oblivion, because for Oblivion, A, I needed to sound menacing. I'm not good at that. 2, it's kind of a pseudo political song. It's like fuck the fucking
I was gonna
the
ask
rich
that.
and the oligarchy. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
You know,
It's
I'm all
evil
about
as fuck.
that. So yeah. There was, because there's a couple. I think it was that one, and I should have put specific notes from the lyrics as I was going through. But there was like a couple of references, like almost like biblical references to like raptures and like a few different things that go with. Yeah, it's got to be that one. You say Oblivion and Rapture, it's got to be the same stuff. But you know, I was wondering about that one as well. But again, that can still go to the overall feeling of like, while it can be pseudo political, it's more of like how everybody in this generation relatively feels.
No,
and like,
yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
It is an issue that both sides of the aisle can unite on.
Yeah.
Shit sucks.
Yeah. 1,000%. one thing I'll do instead of having you guys go through and talk through every track of the 13 when you've already given me your influences and the lyrics and all that kind of stuff. And thanks for going over that, Sierra. I really appreciate you kind of really deep diving on all that stuff. I love when people do that on the show. I'll go through, since there's 5 of you, and put you on the spot, like I've done previous things for you guys in the past, and have you pick one song on this record that on the spot, if you had to pick your favorite on here, the one you're most proud of, which one it is and why. Okay. And then we can see if there's anything else you guys kind of want to get into on this, but we'll start with, I'll go reverse order of what I did the last time. So Jaime, I'll start with you first. And with the 13 tracks on here, which one of these is kind of the highlight for you? Again, there's not like, no one's holding your feet to the fire on this. You can just pick one, right? But of the 13 tracks here, which one is sort of the one you're most proud of, the one that kind of sticks out to you, and why?
I'd say my favorite probably currently right now would be Picture Perfect Pixels. I just like that because it's like us leaning into like a more like clean, like almost like math rock kind of sound, which I really enjoyed. Like I like going into that kind of space there and stuff. And personally, I just really love like the bass parts that I came up with for that one. Like that one's like a lot of fun to play, and I look forward to whenever we end up playing it live.
Yeah, I put this word down, and this shows how much of just like layman I am when it comes to. But like, there's the transition to the last chorus that almost feels like a waltz. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Like, there's like I'm using the wrong word there, but you know what I'm talking. Like, everything really comes down, and it's like sort of more sober instrumentation, and I absolutely loved that aspect of the music where it kind of goes to like the math rock element you're talking about, where the second I thought I knew where the song was going, I was completely fucking wrong. So
and
that
it
one
gets
was
all
really
glitchy
cool.
and everything in that part.
Yeah,
and that's like where I love that section of the album, because that's where it's like, okay, now we're starting to really get into like crazy mode here.
Yeah,
I
we
feel
can
like
get
that's
weird
the one
here.
pinpoint.
Yeah.
I love that exact moment where the glitches happen in Pixels.
Yeah.
I love that moment so much.
Yeah. I thought that was like such a good point, Jay. I thought that was like a really I think that was one of the more interesting songs, especially instrumentally, for the record. So that's really cool. Ryan, what about you?
It's really tough to pick between Rin, Fall, and Oblivion. I think those are the 3 best songs on the album. It's my personal opinion. I think those are the 3 best songs. But to pick one of those 3 is really tough. I'm gonna say Rin, just because I feel like that song best shows like the heavy side of the band that we're gravitating towards. Not that all of our songs are heavy, but now that we've introduced heaviness into our playing, I think Rin is like the perfect showcase of that. And it's I love every part of that song, so I'll go with that.
So that one I had put down, there was 2 songs that I put down that were my potential favorites on this record, and that was one of them. Yep. I thought I tend to try to not pick singles, which is very hipster of me, but that's on brand. But
I'm the same way.
I thought one of the first notes I put down, and this wasn't specifically to the instrumentation, but I said it was the heaviest screaming I'd ever heard from Sierra on any of the songs. And you guys know me, I'm like pretty into like knuckle dragging breakdown bands a lot of the time. So it was right up my alley. But I also felt the same way. I felt like it was a lot more of like there was a lot of more like progressive metalcore elements into it, like that kind of heavy side of the instrumentation you're talking about.
Yeah, that's usually.
But again, like I said earlier, didn't feel like it was anything that was not your band at the same time. So 100% absolutely fantastic song. And for some reason, have you guys ever listened to the band Broadway before?
Never heard.
I played with them a few times.
Yeah.
And I was like, I put down a note, reminds me of a better Broadway. So there you go. That's what I put down. So take that as a compliment.
Them.
Yeah, they were really underrated. You. So good. But that was like what went in my head when I heard that song.
Wow.
Santino, pick a song for me. Which one was your favorite right now? Obviously,
it's Rin. Rin is my favorite one right now. I love Rin. It's got what else could you ask for? It's got catchy chorus, good shreddy guitars and stuff, and dark Sierra mode throughout the whole thing, and good little payoff at the end. It's like the quintessential progressive metalcore song for us.
Yeah, 100%, absolutely.
Just to interject really quick, when just because we're talking about Rin. Every time we practice Rin and Sierra screams like for the 100th time for that part, it is impossible to not beat the shit out of the drum.
You have to.
It gets me so amped up.
It's the hypiest.
Yes. I love it. It's my favorite part. My favorite part of the album is that part of that song.
It's so good.
I can imagine just like that one being so fun live. Like that's like fun. One of the other things.
We played it for the first time last month, and we're gonna play it again. We have a show Friday, April 12th. It's like the second to last like local show. There's one unannounced that we're playing before the record. Oh no, it's the last show we play before the record drops, and then there's like a show we play right after and then tour. So yeah, we get to play it again. Add in like an actual like metalcore show. We played like a post-hardcore show. Now this is like a metalcore show, so I'm really excited to see how that goes.
Well, and that's the other cool thing with this record and your guys' back catalog is you're a band that's kind of all over the place in a good way, to where you could, even if you really wanted to, you could cater your set list to the bands that you're playing with at this point too, right?
Because we all like everything.
Yeah, right. So like if you're playing a heavier show, you can pull out, some of these more breakdowny songs you've got on here and elsewhere, and then that's so sick.
It keeps
that's
everything
so cool.
Every show is different. Every show is unique.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Which version of us are you going to get? Whichever one we fit in.
Yeah,
we're social butterflies, all of us. That's why.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Get with anyone.
Musical chameleons.
Joe, what about you? Pick a song that you're either most proud of, your favorite, whichever.
Right now, it's Honey. I can't believe I forgot to mention earlier Chan. Like, I have so many bands that I'd be like, number one. They're my number one.
Yep.
But like Chan's my number one influence. Like that song, to me, at least, I don't know, it probably doesn't come across that way. That is such a Chan song to me.
I can see it.
Also,
I can see it.
Like a little bit of Trico.
I hear it.
And then like for the longest time, I had no idea what the Pulses feature would sound like, and we didn't really hear it until like very, very close to the end of the record, like recording process. So when we finally got Honey completely done with Pulses feature, I was like, holy shit! I love that song. So proud of it, and I love listening to it. I throw that song on like every day now.
Yeah, that song is cool, and I can't believe obviously knowing Pulses as well. I can't believe I didn't bring that one up before we started doing this. But the Pulses feature of it is cool because it sounds so much like Pulses, and yet it sounds like if Pulses, not that Pulses doesn't do proggy stuff, but it sounds like if Pulses had to go more prog in that part, like kind of like the syncopation and like the kind of the way that the vocals are delivered a little more
layered?
I don't know. Yeah, weird. Yeah, I guess Then maybe they do it conventionally in some of their own music. And I thought it was just like a perfect way to kind of both have them come in, make it make sense, and also, you guys have a lot of connections. Obviously, you've toured together extensively, big friends, and it just felt like that overall with the features. So that was really cool. And Sierra, she had to pick a song.
I had all this time, and I still can't land on.
Just track 1 through 13, all of them,
Yeah, rank them. Yeah, but
the file, the album file. That's the one that you pick, right? There you go.
Exactly. It's so, dude. Like, there's things that I love about every single song, and I think, like, Darting Eyes. Like, I think if it wasn't a single, let's say like the whole album dropped at once, I would pick Darting Eyes. But to not pick a single and also be a hipster, it's a tie between Rain and Oblivion for me. Oblivion is the one I find myself listening to like almost every day, no joke. But Rin, like, I'm just blown away about like how that song came together, like the final product. Like, I'm proud of my vocals. I'm proud of how everybody sounds, the guitar riffs. And like, I'm proud of like my lows. Like, I didn't even know I had that in me. But like, what really like cherry on top of that song for me, Jaime did Game Boy programming on the whole record, and the thing they programmed for like the second verse, when that kicks in, I feel like it could run like 90 miles per hour when that Pikachu Thunderbolt effect happens. Like, I could jump off a mountain and survive. Like that's how I feel. But maybe it's Rin. Man.
Hey, three out of
Non-singles.
5 picking Rin. That just means it's such a banger. You know, it's very good. You know.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's called. I love it. It's called Rin.
I love that
we never
Ryan
said
picked
why it's
that
called
one as
that,
well.
right?
We
You
did,
know?
yes, we did.
No, we
We
kind of did. We were like, it's Ryan without the A.
Yeah,
And that's
but,
it.
like,
It's
It's
short
called
for
that
Byron.
because Ryan came up with the groove
Yep.
first, the intro groove, and then, or no, the verse one, not the intro.
The verse one.
Ryan came to practice with the verse one groove, and I wrote the riff to that, so that's why it was called Rin.
I always love hearing, especially in this day and age where everybody has like, you know, neural DSP and like a DAW on their computer. That, you know, when you hear a song being started by the drummer still, like, and it comes together and it kind of gives the band something different, like this song did. Like, I love hearing that because, like, sometimes, I don't know, in my experience, whenever a drummer gets to come up with the rhythm first and a guitarist has to come over the top of it instead of vice versa, which is so common, 9 times out of the 10 to me, maybe I'm super biased, but it's better. It's just like,
That's
there's,
funny.
you know,
I completely disagree with you.
You know, because it's all
Look
about
at the
it's
Beatles,
about
for
the
example.
yeah.
Can't let the drummer write the song. Don't blow his head up too much right now.
Yeah, keep me humble. Santino's right.
But
Yeah, don't forget Oblivion. Sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Oblivion was another song that started with just bass and drums, but I wrote that intro, so you can't let anyone's ego get too blown up.
Yep.
Yeah, it was really funny. Just quick talk about that song. Joe and I heard Bed Roots by Cianvor, I want to say, and we both talked like it'd be really cool if we wrote a song like that. And it's got like a funky bass groove, and it's really like off time. And it's not like super similar, but Joe, correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's where we got the influence from.
It was
right.
that there was like the thought of doing that, and then like as I think actually you got me, Ryan, to start listening to the Mars Volta, and then once I heard like it's so fucked up. I started listening to the Mars Volta after I listened to Cianvar. It's a crime. Once Big finds out about that, it's over for With Sails Ahead.
What's that? I've never heard of that in my life.
Yeah, well, who? But yeah,
that's I was told by Pulses I wasn't allowed to use that term anymore. Personally,
it's been banned from
Can you
posting.
bleep that for me? Thanks.
But thanks for going over that, guys. I really appreciate it. Again, just want to reiterate that while we've talked, you know, because I'm someone that's into heavy music, you guys have obviously talked about the record as a whole. There's a lot more to it than you know. There's the heaviness. There's obviously a lot of like Sierra alluded to, like pop centric, you know, melodies within it with you know, clean guitars and like driving melodies and all that kind of stuff. There's something in here for everybody. I absolutely love this record. I hope it, you know, kind of put you guys on the next leg up when it comes to people paying attention to you guys. I think it absolutely will. And before I let you guys all go, I appreciate your time on this, and I hope I got to a lot of what you guys would want to get to with the record here. Is there anything else you just want to make sure people know about this record, or anything you want to say as far as what people can expect from Infinite Void if they haven't heard it prior to this coming out, which will be like the Monday after it's released?
First, just listen to it from front to back. Don't skip, please. You can decide if you want to skip songs after the first listen, but just please give us a chance. Listen to the whole thing front to back. We put the album on vinyl because we want people to listen to it front to back. Thank you.
I would echo that as well. Definitely listen to it all the way through. You know, I know people's attention spans are like squirrels now with Spotify and stuff. But listen through the whole record, you will not be disappointed.
Right.
To piggyback off of what you said about people's attention spans, yeah, I hope. I mean, my hope and my prayer is that this record has staying power. I understand that there's just so much good music out there. We are bombarded with it every single week. I see like the New Music Friday lists on Twitter, and it's crazy. But I guess like if you find this episode before you listen to us, like Joe said, please listen to the record front to back at least once. in the car, throw it on your morning or evening commute. Throw it on at the gym. It's an awesome lifting record.
100%.
It's very good for that. But please listen to it front to back. This, you don't owe us anything, but like we worked really hard on this. And then if you have heard the record and you're coming to this episode now, please like add us anytime and ask us questions. If there's anything we didn't cover in this episode, we'd love to talk about it more. If you loved this record, please tell your friends. We can do our dumb little bits on the internet and post memes and spam you with our links, but like ultimately what will get people to listen to us and help our band grow is if you tell your friends yourself, because they will trust you more than they trust us, some strangers on the internet. But yeah, I just hope that people find their own meaning in this record beyond what we've described, and like what it means to us, which is a fucking lot. But yeah, I really believe in us, and I always have. And I think this record is really something special, and I'm insanely proud of it. And it can only go up from here, you know? So invest in WSA while stocks are low.
Yeah, invest in the band stocks. That's 100% correct. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again so much for going over this. As the record will be out when this is released, and all 5 of you are on here, I will ask all of you and whoever, whatever you guys can consensus here. I always play songs at the end. Obviously, I'm not going to put the whole record at the end. I want people to listen to that on your Spotify, and I'm not going to throw 44 minutes at the end of this. But pick a song from the record, whether it's a single that's already out, one of the songs you guys discussed, and we'll play it at the end here to kind of tie things up.
It's got to be Rin, right? We were just talking it up so much.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess we can...
Is that
I guess we can...
Oh, yeah, well, duh.
Yeah, oops. So, since this episode will be out by the time the record's out, everyone will already know that Rin is a surprise drop that it has dropped days before the record.
Okay.
So...
Yeah, again, this will be out
you
like
can
the
just throw
following
that
week.
one.
But
yeah.
we will play Rin at the end of this from With Sales Ahead on their new record, Infinite Void. Again, absolutely fantastic record. Thanks for sitting here and talking with me about it. I really appreciate it, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your night.
Thanks, Brandon. Have a good night.
Thank you so
Thanks for
much.
having me.